Los Angeles. For decades, it's been sold as the ultimate American dream, right? Hollywood, sunshine, endless possibility. But what happens if that dream is starting to crack? Well, an article from Shasta Unfiltered makes a pretty bold argument that beneath that golden facade, the city is actually in a pretty serious decline. So let's break down what they're saying, piece by piece. Yeah, the article really doesn't pull any punches. It uses this exact phrase, dystopian wasteland, to describe parts of modern LA. That's a powerful claim, and it kind of sets the stage for the whole debate we're going to get into. And this really gets to the heart of it, this idea of a tale of two cities. You've got the Los Angeles of postcards and movies, the one we all think we know. And then there's the reality that the article describes, which is, well, a whole lot harsher for the people actually living there. And here's that contrast, laid out, plain and simple. On one side, you have the dream, the glamour, the sun, the opportunity. But on the other side is the reality the article points to. Urban dysfunction, sprawling homeless encampments, and vandalism that it claims are really starting to tarnish that golden image. So the article doesn't just make claims, right? It points to some very real, very visible symbols of this so-called decay. So what's the visual evidence they're offering up? One of the biggest examples they bring up, the abandoned ocean-wide plaza towers. I mean, this was supposed to be a glittering billion-dollar symbol of LA's future. Instead, it's just sitting there, a massive graffiti-covered monument to stalled projects, right in the heart of downtown. And then, of course, there's Skid Row. The source describes it as an ongoing epicenter for open-air drug markets and a sanitation crisis. Another really stark visual that, according to the article, suggests things are heading in the wrong direction. All right, so this leads us to a really fascinating paradox that the article dives into. This huge disconnect between the official crime stats and how safe people actually feel out on the streets. And this is the million-dollar question, right? The data says one thing, but the article argues the experience on the ground, the feeling, says something completely different. So how can both of those things be true? Okay, let's look at the numbers. On paper, the progress looks incredible. Homicides are down 19%, the lowest since 1966. But the article argues this just doesn't line up with what residents are seeing day to day, with widespread retail theft, open drug use, and just this general feeling of disorder that the stats don't seem to capture. So, how do you explain that massive gap? Well, the article points to something pretty crucial for context. It notes that the Department of Justice has actually suggested that these official statistics might be the result of manipulated crime reporting. And that, of course, casts a whole lot of doubt on that progress on paper narrative. Now, beyond crime, the article argues there are these powerful economic forces that are hollowing out the city, pushing both people and businesses to pack up and leave. And it really all boils down to the cost of just existing there. The first number is a big one. The article cites that the cost of living in Los Angeles is nearly 50% higher than the national average. That is a massive, massive burden for anyone just trying to make it work. Then you pile on top of that California's top personal income tax rate, 13.3%. It's the highest in the entire country. The article presents this as a huge reason why high earners and companies might be looking for the exit. And it's not just individuals feeling the pinch. The city itself is in a tough spot. The article points out that LA was staring down a massive $1 billion budget deficit for the 2025 to 2026 fiscal year, which means service cuts and really tough questions about spending. Okay, and that brings us to what might be the most visible and definitely the most charged issue the article covers, the city's ongoing and incredibly expensive homelessness crisis. The article really frames this whole thing around one massive question. The state of California spent a staggering $24 billion to fight homelessness. So the question is, where did all that money go? The article does some quick back-of-the-napkin math based on this state's own numbers. Officials claimed a 9% reduction in the homeless population. So the article calculates that this reduction, using that $24 billion, came at a cost of roughly $1.2 million. According to the article's calculation, that's the cost per single person moved off the streets. It's an absolutely mind-boggling figure that raises some serious questions about the strategy being used. And, to make things even more complicated,
The article offers a counterpoint. While officials are claiming a decline, it cites analysis of aerial images that suggest the total area covered by encampments hasn't actually shrunk at all. In some places, it might have even grown.
So when you put all this together, where does it leave the City of Angels? Well, the article argues it's at a critical tipping point, a real crossroads that's going to define its future. To recap, the picture the article paints is of a city caught in this perfect storm. You've got visible urban decay, a crisis of safety perception, an economic exodus, and a homelessness problem that billions and billions of dollars just haven't been able to solve. And this is really the kicker, the final thought the article leaves us with. You've got the World Cup in 2026 and the Olympics in 2028 hurtling towards the city. The international spotlight is about to be on LA in a huge way. The question is, what version of the city is that spotlight going to reveal? So that's the breakdown of the argument from our source material today. The article, Los Angeles, the Golden City in Decline, from Shasta Unfiltered. Thanks so much for tuning in.